Good evening, everybody. As you will see, I will have something come showing up there shortly, which is going to be the link to the Rumble exclusive. We're not going to do that yet. That's where we're gonna that's where we'll end up tonight. Um, because there's going to be some stuff that comes out tonight that might be a little more maybe a little too disturbing for YouTube, I think is the best way to put it. And I know that whenever we're getting into something that might just be a little bit too touchy. Well, speaking of touch,
Can you see it? It's right here in front of me, right now. Watch. No. Good heavens. No, it went through me? It passed right through me. Me? I wasn't in me.
I think the shotgun's my favorite part of this. Just
Oh my god.
the racking of the
I
shotgun.
I love when she flips her hair back and goes, "Me?"
Me. Well,
So good.
let's say hello to everybody. We got Hey Jude. Good to see you. Oh, Farrell. You got to struggle snuggle, David. I understand. It happens. And of course, Turpy. Good to see you, brother. You're good people, man. And oh my gosh, what in the hell do you do with this? Just
Touchdown. Paper? Unbreaded.
good evening from Cleveland, Ohio, where their motto is at least we're not Detroit. Thank you, T Rex, for the 4.99 super chat, brother.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I had to give him a touchdown, paper unbreaded for that man right there. And let's see, we got of course the most wonderful Rabbit is here hanging out and modding this channel. I hope you're doing well tonight, Rabbit. It's wonderful to see you. One of my favorite people, Fast Group. If you haven't checked out his website, check it out. He does freeze dried food, and he also teaches people how to not be harmful or to be harmful, but be careful with their firearms. Fast Group. He's good people. Got to check him out. Um, I'm cutting out. Only do YouTube. Enjoy the show, everyone. Oh, we'll be here. We'll be here for a good portion of it. So just stick around because we will be covering quite a bit of this through the YouTube portion of it. We will because there is going to be some part of it that YouTube doesn't that I don't want to have a little strike on there, and I'm trying to keep it um uh, certainly reasonable. But I know that if I play a particular video that it's going to get me in trouble. So it will only be on YouTube and it'll be towards the very end of the show. So don't worry, you can hang out as long as you like. There's no problem there. It'll be a while before we actually do that. So don't you worry. And I'll also be kicking Caitlin's down because I don't want to get her in trouble whenever that happens. So if you guys haven't checked out Caitlin Comments, that's Caitlin right there. And she has her own channel and she co-hosts with me whenever she's available to do this on Mondays. And I figured why not have a sex cult? I mean, we were talking about women's, that are involved in sex cults, and this particular well, not sex cults, but involved in cults. This particular one is a woman that was involved in this cult. And I guess the best way to do it is to bring up the first bit here. Oh, hey, Melissa Jane. My gosh. Good to see you, girl. Good to see you. And let me put this in here so it shows the pop-out chat. That way I just had to make sure that it was working over there on the
I
Rumble
also
side.
I also saw Jamie and Lex sneak in here too. So hi guys.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Lex. Oh my gosh, you guys just keep on coming in and hanging out. I'm still here. Where's everyone? Well, that's Caitlin's over there, and we we will see you at periodically. So gotta show a little bit of love to Caitlin. This helps out Caitlin with her watch hours, which she's gonna need them because I guarantee she's gonna hit 500 before I do. Before I hit 1,000, she'll hit 500. There we go. That's what I meant to say.
I was gonna say, I think you're confused, good sir.
Well, that's funny. I for sure. Though Shizzy was going to say that's Caitlin, and she commented.
Can you see it? It's right here in front of me, right now. Watch. No. Good heavens. You know, it went through me. It passed right through me.
Could you feel it?
Me? I wasn't any me.
Found you again. Yes, I'm still here. I'm still here. And of course, hello, beautiful people. Jackpot Springs. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Lex. Yes. And of course, as always, the best eyelashes this side of Spain. Big area. But so have you ever heard of the family or the children of God? And it's not the same family that we talked about that was from Australia. They started out as something completely different. They started out as the Teens for Christ. They became the Children of God later, and then the Family of Love, or simply the Family. Now they're called the Family International, and they're only online. Now, they were founded by David Brantberg. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Is this the same Children of God that Danny On and Nicholas Starro were talking about not too long ago? Or is it a different one?
It might be. I honestly don't know
Okay.
because I don't watch everybody. But this is
That would be the only framework I have.
So this is David Berg or David Brantberg, and he was, this gives a little bit of information about him. This is recently from 2023. So this is still an existing group, and they love to show all the good stuff about this guy, like this here.
The Ten Commandments were done away with by the law of Jesus Christ, the law of love. God now only has one law, the law of love, to love God with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. He said, Jesus himself said, the Son of God, in this law, he said, dwelleth all the law and all the prophets. All fulfilled in this one law. Just this one law of love fulfills all 10 and all the rest put together. So we don't need them anymore. We're no longer under the laws of Moses. We're no longer under the 10 Commandments. We're no longer under all that religious folderol and rigmarole and form and ceremony and temple worship. All you have to worship God today is your own heart. And you can carry this temple, which is the temple of his Holy Spirit. God's word says so. This is the temple of his Holy Spirit today. And this is where you must worship him. Within the
So that's David Brandt Berg. Pretty chill. I mean, you think, hey, this is sending a good message out there.
I don't know. He had a weird voice change in the middle that I was a little unsure about.
He was probably had a little bit of a kind of thing. It happens. It happens. But he's a lot of people don't, once I start showing some of this stuff, it's where it starts getting a little bit more disturbing. I'm see here. Here we go. So, welcome to the official website of the Family International. So, this is Peter with a boy from an isolated village in Thailand hit hard by the tsunami. Family International online Christian network of individuals in 75 countries committed to sharing the message of God's love with others. What we do, the members strive to share a message of faith and hope to all nations to make a difference in their local community. Why they do it? God's love. Love is God's solution to problems the world faces. Even in the complex and challenging world we live in today, love put into action is greatest service to humankind. They're in Africa, America, Central America, America, North, South, Asia Pacific, Asia South, Europe Central, East, Europe West. Copyright by Family International. All rights are reserved, of course. And of course, we've got this one here is basically from the same thing because they have these pages will, change as it goes through, cheering up residents of the hospital, tells more about it. But what they don't tell you about is this. They don't tell you about Family International. They don't tell you about David Brandt Berg as much as they do. It is former members have accused the Family International of being an a cult which engages in systematic physical and sexual abuse of children, resulting in lasting trauma among the survivors. The group has also been accused of targeting vulnerable people. According to the CBC, which is Canadian Broadcasting, the family movement had tens of thousands of members, including Reverend Joaquin Felix, Rose McGowan, Jeremy Spencer. They spread a message of salvation and apocalypse, spiritual revolution, and happiness. So that's makes your little hairs stand on end. Yeah, I understand.
I agree.
It does happen. Oh my gosh, you guys are just rolling in here. Jacob, good to see you, brother. You are G. That's awesome. Get in. Hell 9000. This guy's ruining Star Wars for me. He looks and sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hello, Jessica. Good to see you. Yeah, I should probably need to holler out at Jessica and see if she's up for doing a stream tomorrow. Some more of the Johnny Depp stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your coverage on that has been great. I love it.
That's pretty easy stuff. But yeah, we've been having a good time. I think the last one we did was 6 hours plus. That was that was a very, very long day. But so let's see if we show a little bit about. Now, you remember John Todd, correct?
Yes.
Remember me talking about him? Okay. So this is where John Todd and him come in very, very much the same. Okay. So the children of God, or the family, with David Berg, along with his wife and children, founded the organization known as Teens for Christ, operating out of Light Club Coffee House in Huntington Beach, California in 1968. Okay. Now you remember me telling you about what's his face, John Todd. This is where John Todd got his start, was operating out of this same coffee house.
Hmm.
Okay. And then of course John Todd sort of disappeared for a while and then came back and started doing his own speaking and engagements.
So was he like, did he have anything to do with the Children of God or the family, or was that a whole separate, just happened to have two different cult leaders kind of start there?
Well, John Todd was never a leader of a cult. John Todd was just a speaker and going around spreading a bunch of under a guise of religion.
He kind of wanted to be a cult leader, right?
Yeah, but he couldn't keep his hands to himself. That's just that happens. Well, what cult is this? This is the family, or the Children of God, also known as the Family International. Good to see you, Excomer. Good to see you, brother.
Hello.
And so they it was like they were camped at Lois and Clark, that a news reporter called them the Children of God. So in the 70s, they started this thing called flirty fishing, and there's a much better way of describing a lot more of the truth about the family, or the Children of God, and that's just hear it from somebody that already has covered this, and they've condensed it down to something much more tolerable than I can do.
Formed by David Berg in the 1960s, the notorious Children of God cult abused its members under the cover of faith. In doing so, they caused enormous harm to hundreds of people, adults and children alike. This is the untold truth of the Children of God cult. David Berg was the leader of the Children of God, using a warped conception of Christianity to fulfill his own sadistic needs. The origins of the system of control that he would use on his followers can be found in his childhood. Berg's mother believed in spiritual healing, and his family became involved in the Pentecostal movement. When Berg was 6, the family moved to Miami and started the Berg Evangelistic Dramatic Company. His mother acted as the preacher, and his father was the choreographer and music director. This blending of music and faith would later appear in the Children of God. As an adult, Berg experimented with different religious movements. He became a minister, but was quickly forced to give up his position at his first church, reportedly after allegations of sexual misconduct. He spent time working with a faith healer and then an evangelist. Meanwhile, Berg's mother preached to hippie youth about Christ. Ultimately, Berg joined her. Then, after her death, he expanded. Rolling Stone reports Berg asking his followers, "Who are the real rebels of today? We are the true lovers of peace and love and truth and beauty and God and freedom, whereas you, our parents, are on the brink of destroying and polluting all of us and our world if we do not rise up against you in the name of God and try to stop you." Berg, known in the cult as Moses David, preached anti-establishment beliefs to his followers, and he also prophesied.
Looked like you wanted to say something.
No, the quote, it like started out like, yeah, they're just kind of coming together and being children and love, and then it's like, and the parents are polluting your minds and it's poison and raw. That it turned quickly. I was not expecting that.
Yes, it does. It does turn really quickly. It even gets, wait until you hear about the flirty fishing.
Oh no.
As the end of the world. The cult leader preached that the apocalypse was coming, and that when the time came, his followers would ascend to heaven. The Children of God were told to expect the apocalypse in 1993, and they lived their lives as if they would soon be over.
Hey, they look very happy here, don't they?
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Children were barely educated, as it was seen as unnecessary so close to the end of the world.
Children were barely educated, as it was seen as unnecessary so close to the end of the world.
So everything you were doing was geared up to the fact that Christ would come back in 1993?
Absolutely, yes.
Flor Edwards, who was raised in the cult, spoke to the LA Times in 2019 about the mindset of cult members. She recalled, For many, it was euphoric thinking about the afterlife. We earned that spot in heaven. We were the chosen ones. But in my mind, I couldn't just think about the afterlife, but that threshold we had to cross to get there. It plagued me as a child. David Berg was rarely seen by members of the Children of God. Still, Berg was in constant communication with his followers through what became known as Mo letters. Mo letters, so called because of Berg's nickname, Moses David, were physical documents distributed among his followers. They contained doctrine that
And we do have some of the Mo letters. Wait until you see the what is it? The prophecy for Davidito. It's pretty harsh.
I mean, just
Everyone
the
in-
little piece right there, and I can't see the whole. So God sure picked a lot of women to take the places of ugly, narrow-minded, critical, sinful,
Sinful and
and
self-righteous.
self-righteous souls. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
the cult was required.
And you can get all of this information, but you have to apply for it because it is it's well regulated, I guess is the best way to do it. I'll explain a little bit more later. Oh my gosh. What do you do whenever you have this kind of stuff show up?
Stop. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, T-Rex, for we the people must prepare for the apocalypse. I have it from God himself. It happens in the month of September, October, November area in 2637. Sinners. Repent. I love it. Yeah, among his followers, they contain the doctrine that everyone in the cult was required to follow. Not uncommon.
Required to follow. Some included prophecies about the end of the world. Others functioned like a twisted Dear Abby in which Berg.
Do you notice my thing up there? I'm known as Dear Leader. Like it?
I did not see that to begin with because those are very tiny letters for me, but I love it. That's
here we go.
I see it.
You see it now? I was like, yeah, I thought you'd like that, Dear Leader. Ben Soy, it turns you into a
responded to letters from his members and gave them instructions. Many included illustrations that resemble pornographic comic book covers. According to xfamily.org, a group that provides resources to former members and has archived the Mo letters, Berg wrote more than 3,000 during his lifetime. For members of the Children of God, every minute detail of their lives was controlled by the rules set by Berg, from how many sheets of toilet paper they should use to what their job was. Traditional families weren't valued in Children of God. Instead, everyone was a member of one large...
I love those shorts, though. I need to get me a pair of those.
Nobody needs a pair of those.
Come on. And the socks that go almost up to the knees.
Large family with Berg at the center. Jeanette Solano, associate professor of religious studies at Cal State Fullerton, told the LA Times everything was broken down, so the parents didn't have control over the raising of the children.
Please post the membership join link in chat so I can join via iPhone. Well, can I post the members join link in chat so he can join via iPhone? I don't know how to do that. I honestly don't. I don't know what that is. Oh, I wish I knew how to do that.
I almost yeeted myself from the stream.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm gonna stop touching, but I was gonna try to help, but I'm gonna not touch buttons.
Let me see if I honestly, I wish I knew how to do that. No.
I thought you couldn't get memberships from the iPhone. I thought you had to be on the computer.
No, I
Um,
think you can do it from chat, but I
from a
don't know how
link.
to. I honestly don't know how to do that. Sorry. Thanks for the super chat. I wish I knew. I really do. I wish I knew how to do it. I just don't know how. I'm still learning this stuff, man. Don't abuse me like this. Oh my gosh. But we'll continue on with this, and I'll see if I can figure it out before we get too far along.
Parental authority was abdicated to the community. The best food and supplies went to high-ranking members, and the majority had to get by with whatever was left. They were never permitted to be alone, even in the bedroom or bathroom. Members read Bible passages over loudspeakers and prepped for the end of days. One of the more peculiar and creepy aspects of the Children of God is the way the cult used music to spread its message. In the early 1980s, with the rise of music videos, the cult created numerous broadcasts. Its videos were advertised as being wholesome and delightful. Amy Brill was one of the first people to be born into the cult. At 8 years old, she moved from France to Greece with her parents to join a music-focused chapter of the cult. According to her interview in the docuseries Cults and Extreme Belief, the shows they put together were broadcast internationally. Later, the cult insisted that Amy remain with the music unit while her parents returned to France. Alone in a foreign country, she recorded songs almost daily. Some songs released by the Children of God were relatively standard takes on Christian folk and rock music, but other songs specifically discussed the group's extreme beliefs in the lyrics. One such song is Kathy Don't Go, which foretells of a dystopian future where everyone has a barcode, which the cult equated with the sign of the beast, on their body. The solution for the song's character, Kathy, is to avoid the supermarket at any cost.
Those some teeth right there. I remember hearing this song. Yeah, they were all against barcodes. It's weird.
Several celebrities were raised in the Children of God, including actress and activist Rose McGowan. In an interview with the Irish Times, she described it as being very stressful.
Oh my gosh. I guess it worked. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in and becoming the creepy cat sneaking on in there. I'm glad it worked. Thank you, Dwight. Welcome to our newest member of the Nuts. There you go, T-Rex. Thank you very much. I did the thing. Yay! So much fun. Yes, Rose McGowan, very stressful. There's other ones that we're going to be talking about besides her.
Like a high
So
wire
she got out though.
where she was
Yeah, she got out, but
Okay.
yeah, so did Joaquin River.
forced to be physically perfect, even recounting a story where someone cut her finger with a knife because she had a wart. As McGowan recalled, what they were doing wasn't matching up with what they were saying. Ultimately, McGowan's father, who she said was the leader of an Italian chapter of the group, made the decision to leave with his family when the cult began to advocate child abuse.
Later, they got into having multiple wives and children and adult sex, which is why we escaped.
Actors River and Joaquin Phoenix and their siblings were also brought into Children of God in the 1970s. Their family traveled Central and South America with the cult, but didn't stay for long. In an interview with Playboy in 2014, Joaquin Phoenix emphasized that his parents were there to connect with other people who believed in Jesus and share their experiences. He explained, "I think my parents thought they'd found a community that shared their ideals. Cults rarely advertise themselves as such. It's usually someone saying, 'We're like-minded people, this is a community.' But I think the moment my parents realized there was something more to it, they got out." The Children of God took the concept of free love to a criminal extreme. In Berg's worldview, God invented love and sex for the benefit of humanity, so sex in all forms was encouraged by him. in a twisted philosophy that encouraged child abuse.
I practice what I preach, and I preach sex, boys and girls, hallelujah.
Through his Mo letters, Berg promoted a doctrine referred to as simply sharing. This advised members to be intimate with any other group members who wanted to at any time. Former member Sylvia Padilla explained in the 1994 documentary.
Yeah, I saw the look on your face where you're just like, holy cow.
Well, I want to know more about the River and Joaquin Phoenix thing. And like what ages they were when they got out, what happened to them, if they were affected by anything, because like River, he ended pretty abruptly, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then Joaquin is crazy enough to play Joker.
But here's I don't think they were as involved in it. I think it was once they got into the child abuse portion of it. So they were part of it. So they were traveling. They could, like he said, they saw this as like-minded individuals spreading the word of Christ. And once it started getting into the child abuse stuff, their parents were like, no, we're out of here. And if I'm not mistaken, changed their names. Because they were just, they didn't want to be associated with that anymore, which is it happens. People get suckered in all the time. As you'll see, some people get suckered in worse than others. And this may end up being a 2-part series because there's a lot to unload on with this. So just, like I said, this is one I've been holding off on quite a bit because there is so much information and they still are very active. Yeah. No wonder Joaquin Phoenix was so good at playing the Joker. Maybe.
Documentary Children of God, I was convinced it was like a duty. Sometimes you were revolted, but if you were asked and you refused, you were going to be labeled selfish, unloving, uncaring, and that you didn't really belong. Contraception was forbidden, so many women became pregnant, often by men who weren't their husbands. Berg himself shared with many women in the cult. Members also frequently corresponded with Berg by sending him videos that they recorded of themselves, which were sometimes pornographic in nature. The doctrine of sharing.
And I mean, if you want to share videos of me that are pornographic in nature, don't. I'll get in all kinds of trouble with the wife, just so you know. Don't do it. I'm not saying I won't look. I'm just saying it'll get me in trouble.
It's so bad.
So bad. Sorry. Here's the flirty fishing.
Oh no.
This is. And the old strategy of luring in new members with snacks and songs combined in a policy called flirty fishing. Flirty fishing was essentially a doctrine encouraging women in the group to use their sexuality as a tool to entice new members to join the Children of God. The policy even applied to married women with children. Karen Zerby joined the Children of God when there were only about 125 followers. At this time, the group still held conservative views on sex, forbidding even hand-holding before marriage. Zerby became Berg's personal secretary, and he controlled every aspect of her life, including her diet and appearance. According to Rolling Stone, within a few months, Berg began an affair with Zerby and soon began promoting polygamy, using the Bible as justification for taking her as his second wife.
Yeah. And we get into her a little bit more too. God's yours. Yes. Anthony, good to see you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed at the. I was just gonna say I laughed at the God's horse thing, but it's so not funny. It is just not. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at the whole group. Look at them all just snuggle. It's a snuggle struggle.
Is what Amber Heard was wanting? A big old cuddle puddle?
I think so. I'll just rewind it a little bit because yes, they were very conservative on sex, and they got to the point where it was just like he started promoting polygamy because, well, what other way are you going to get so much more. That's bad. So much body fluids. That's an awful lot of writhing.
Yeah, no, I'm completely shocked that he would take something that he wanted to do that would otherwise be pretty uncouth of him, and make up an excuse in the Bible as to why it would be okay. That
Right.
totally surprises me. I don't know how he even thought of it.
That's such a novel concept. I mean, to say the Bible endorses, getting a little frisky with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
of course, as ORG says, the downward spiral has begun. Yes.
Marriage. Zerby became Berg's personal secretary, and he controlled every aspect of her life, including her diet and appearance. According to Rolling Stone, within a few months, Berg began an affair with Zerby and soon began promoting polygamy, using the Bible as justification for taking her as his second wife. Soon after, the cult was endorsing sharing. Zerby gained power and influence in the Children of God, and Berg took more wives and brought more women into his inner circle, including his own granddaughter, Mary Berg. Later, she would
No.
describe her treatment by Berg as barbaric and cruel. Zerby became known as Mother Maria, and she took over writing the Mo letters as Berg got older. After his death, she became the new leader of the cult and even introduced her own doctrine. One new practice under Zerby was loving Jesus, or imagining intimacy with Christ himself. The Children of God's view of both mental and physical conditions is intrinsically linked to their religious beliefs, and it sometimes had devastating consequences. Mary Berg, David Berg's granddaughter, suffered mentally from the abuse she endured while in the cult. Her close childhood friend, Amy Brill, stated in an interview that the abuse made Mary, quote, completely crazy.
They thought her emotional reactions to what was happening to her was demonic possession, sent away to this training camp where she was treated very inhumanely.
In an interview, former cult member Sylvia Padilla said that her daughter, Shuli, developed the autoimmune disease lupus in her teens. After the diagnosis, the exhausted Shuli spent most of her time indoors reading. However, the Children of God typically forbade books. When she wrote to David Berg and asked if she was doing the wrong thing by reading, he responded with a Mo letter, distributed throughout the members, that implied that she developed lupus because she was reading against the cult's wishes, that God...
Yeah.
How dare she?
Yeah. This is how they oh yeah. They're boning Jesus now? Yes.
Like, a couple of questions here.
Mhm.
Because we all know that. No, we're gonna skip over that question. My big question is, if reading is forbidden, is it just reading books, or is it all reading? Because Mo writes a lot of letters for somebody who's not supposed to have his followers reading.
Yeah, but those were written specifically for people on the outside world.
Oh.
Yeah. And to
Okay.
bring people in. You write these letters so it brings people in, but once you're in with the group, it becomes his doctrine that you're supposed to be reading and paying attention to, because that's the only doctrine that matters.
God himself was punishing her with a chronic condition. While medication was not expressly forbidden, it was heavily discouraged. Shuli Padilla suffered the consequences of the cult, creating a stigma around healthcare. Eventually, with the approval of her parents, she stopped taking the medication she needed to live. Shuli died in the Padilla family home. Living under the control of the Children of God has had lasting ramifications for its members, even those who left the cult. In Cults and Extreme Belief, former members stated that suicide and addiction are very common among ex-members.
The suicide rate with ex-members is so high. How many do you think? I know.
And we'll be getting into Ricky Rodriguez. That's the part that I can't show on the tubes without getting stuff happening on my channel. So
100.
And that's a dark one. Dark.
David Berg's granddaughter, Mary Berg, has starred in music videos and gained celebrity status within the cult, according to a former member interviewed for Cults and Extreme Belief. But she also suffered extreme abuse. Eventually, she escaped the cult. Rolling Stone reports that she was institutionalized, became addicted to methamphetamine, and turned to sex work. She passed away in 2017 from respiratory failure.
With Mary passing, even though it wasn't a suicide, I think the early death had something to do with her PTSD.
In 1978, Children of God rebranded to Family of Love, or just The Family. Later, in 2004, the Children of God changed its name to The Family International. After David Berg's death in 1994, the cult continued under the control of Karen Zerby, who was also known as Mother Maria, Mama Maria, or Queen Maria. But the name changes and new leader were not enough to erase the impact of years of abuse on former members. According to Rolling Stone, Zerby's son, Ricky Rodriguez, had at one time been referred to as a messiah figure in the group. He left the Children of God, but was never able to fully move on from the things that had happened to him and others. In 2005, Rodriguez tried to track down Zerby, but was only able to get in contact with her secretary, Angela Smith, whom he claimed had abused him. Rodriguez killed Smith and died by suicide the same night. The Family International did everything they could to distance themselves from Rodriguez's memory. The BBC reports that the cult, which was once reported to have over 10,000 members worldwide, has now been reduced to a small online community. According to xfamily.org, which hosts archived documents and leaked photographs about the cult, Karen Zerby was last seen in Mexico in 2010. Her current whereabouts are unknown. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic, sexual, or spiritual abuse, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at their website.
I'm going to pull that back up for anybody. I might need that. Seriously. For,
Absolutely.
like I said, it starts getting a little dark.
799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at their website.
Make sure that you check this out. It's Grunge. They're the ones that brought this particular piece up. So now they're reduced to the Pornhub prayer group. That's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. So this is Angela Smith. She changed her name in 1993, Joy Sue Cedar Trust and Hope. She was murdered in January 8th, 2005 in Tucson by Ricky Rodriguez. And that's the darker part about it. But let me share this instead right here. What does that say? I thought there was already the family. That wasn't what Charles Manson called his crew. Yeah, a lot of them will. Well, there's an uplifting message. Yes, Pornhub prayers. And if you get a chance, just follow this guy right here, and he will tell you all about them. Kidding. Do not do it because of that. I'm joking. So this is David Brentberg gives a little bit about it. The law of love. But this is where it starts getting the dark portion of it. As a child, Young loved working with the sect as a missionary in Monterrey, Mexico, and he would often preach 3 or 4 days a week for 10 hours each time, both on the streets and door to door. Several celebrities being raised with him. The law eventually caught up with Berg. In 1993, he was accused of abusing his own daughters and granddaughters, fled to Portugal after Interpol began an investigation into the cult leader in Argentina. He died in a European country, in that European country the following year, but that didn't stop the cult from expanding. Berg's widow, Karen Zerby, remarried, and she and her new husband, Steve Kelly, took over control. 2009.
Wait. So you said in 93, he was accused. And that's when he had to uproot his life and move to Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
So his world totally ended in 93.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of predicted his own demise. I'm a little astonished he's one of the first ones to have gotten a prediction right.
That's all right, ma'am. We've got you covered. Nah, domestic violence is shitty. What do you tell a woman? What? We're not getting into that. Tell her to wear safety goggles. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm part of this awesome group. Prime arrival family, the color orange, and protects us the gate to heaven. Oh, okay then. I love it. Jake Levy, you're hilarious.
Oh.
1993, success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those mans, they were.
I'm telling you, somebody predicted something and it finally came true. He may not have had it right on spot, but he knew something bad was going to happen in 93, and by golly, it did.
Well, it's good seeing you, Fast Group, and you have a wonderful night also, sir. We appreciate you. Really do. Children of God still exists today in a new online form. The New York Attorney General estimated the followers of the Children of God lived in 120 communes. By 2006, reportedly 14,000 communes over 100 countries. They disbanded in 2010, and they reformed into a small online network that claims it now has roughly 1,500 members in 80 countries. Although the Family International has apologized on a number of occasions to former members for any hurt, real or perceived, that they may have suffered during their time in our membership, we do not give credence to tales of institutionalized abuse. And Discovery Plus has the Children of the Cult for a 5-part series. And there's this lady right here. She wrote a book. About 10 years ago, Faith Jones went to the mountains of Sri Lanka for a meditation retreat. I'm the kind of person who has to be busy all the time. She's a Las Vegas-based lawyer. Says she thought, I'm going to go crazy trying to sit here for 8 hours a day meditating. Instead, she felt instantly at home among the Buddhist monks and nuns who spent their days doing chores, chanting scriptures in the middle of nowhere. I was like, why does this seem so familiar to me? Jones, 44, recalled, and then it hit me. I grew up like this. I grew up like a little nun, except there was a lot of sex involved. Then she told herself, I'm going to write a book. But she did. My Life as a Sex Cult Nun. Jones wasn't kidding. Sex Cult Nun, her new memoir, William Morrow, out now, details her upbringing in the notorious Children of God cult. Her grandfather founded the group, later called the Family. It gained infamy for its disturbing sex practices and allegations of abuse, including encouraging sexual relationships between adults and children. Jones grew up believing the law of love, which pushed women to show Jesus' love by submitting to sex with men. Jones felt the pressure as early as 6 years old. She finally escaped the family when she was 22, getting her college degree and attending Berkeley Law, yet it said it took years to fully come to terms with the abuse she endured. When I left, I still didn't think that's what I was taught was wrong necessarily. It took a few years of living in regular society before I could look back at my life and be like, oh, that's what happened. Jones was born in Hong Kong in 1977, the seventh child in a polygamous family in the Children of God. She grew up with 6 older half-siblings, 2 mothers, Mommy Esther, her father's first wife, and Mommy Ruthie, her biological mother, a former hippie from Long Island, and no schooling, spending hours a day praying, doing household chores, and prepping for the end of times. Jones's father, Jose, was the son of Children of God leader David Berg, a.k.a. Moses David. An itinerant preacher. We all know about that. That's where he met Faith's mom, Ruthie, who joined in 71. Ruthie's devotion so impressed Berg that he suggested Hosea take her as his second wife. By the time Faith came along, the Children of God expanded to Asia, and Hosea and Ruthie had opened a printing press in Hong Kong where they published Berg's prophecies called the Mo Letters to circulate among the cult's 10,000 members. So it was for the members. Esther, Berg's first wife, largely took care of the house and the brood's expanding number of children. Yet Hosea soon fell out of favor when Berg discovered he was printing material for clients outside the group. Jones never met her grandfather before his death in 1994. It was a very strange thing, as I felt very abandoned and rejected and didn't know why, she said, of never meeting Berg. Now I'm quite grateful. In 81, Jones was 4 when her mother's and half-siblings moved to a remote farm in Macau off the south coast of China. After a Hong Kong newspaper published an expose on the group, at first the family didn't have a toilet, reliable electricity, or a shower. They took baths in a barrel. But eventually her father spruced up the place, built guest houses, planted a vegetable garden, acquired a bevy of farm animals, turning the dilapidated property into a fully functioning religious commune. We were in a religious order living communally, no possessions, hours spent in prayer and proselytizing. But the difference is that most religious orders ban sex. We emphasized it. Sex pervaded every aspect of their lives. Cartoon images of naked women adorned their religious literature. The Holy Spirit was depicted, Jones writes, as a buxom, hot, horny goddess wearing only a heart-shaped bikini held on with pearl strings. Monthly newsletters included photographs of topless women. One of Jones' first coloring books had detailed diagrams of sexual organs and a drawing of a naked, fully aroused man penetrating women wearing a flower crown on her head. They learned that sex is our service to God, Jones writes. Refusing sex is being hard and selfish, unyielding to God's will, and our absolute obedience is expected. When Faith was a girl in the 1980s, she occasionally went on her mother's flirty fishing missions, basically where women were expected to prostitute themselves for Christ, seducing men to the cause, or at least extracting favors from them. Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Hi, Mr. Malloy.
Malloy, this is similar to FLDS, Warren Jeff's The False Prophet. Hey, good to see you, Mr. Malloy. Really. That's insane. Poor lady. Yeah, she got out though. Yeah. Yeah. It's enough to make you not feel too well. Jones said she actually looked forward to these trips. For me, it was even a bit of fun because we got to go out to nice restaurants and ride in fancy cars. She particularly loved visiting one of her mother's long-term fish, Ashok. When Jones was 7, Ruthie had a daughter, Nina, with him. So that's Ashok right there. He would do fun things with me like make chapatis and give me the attention I didn't get from my father. Jones asked of Ashok. Though sometimes she would have to pretend to sleep while Ashok and her mother had sex in the bed next to her. It's just wrong. It's 7. We were told we had no property rights to our body, that it belonged to God, and that allowed for all these abuses to happen. Children were not exempt from such abuses. When she was 3, Jones appeared in the video Asian Angels Volume Number 1, in which scantily clad women and girls from the family's Asian missions portrayed sexy dancing goddesses from Moses David's dreams. When she was 6, her Uncle Jeff, the children referred to as adults in the cult as uncle or aunt, showed her how to pleasure him with her hands. At 10, despite shifting policies between adults and children due to increased media attention, 2 older uncles French kissed her. When she tried to avoid them and other men on the farm, she was asked, "Why can't you be more loving?" Her older brothers, by the time they were 10, had already had sex. Boys were asked which auntie they wanted to have sexy time with, and then they went into different rooms and did what the boy wanted, full sex or just cuddling. In the 90s, when Jones was 10, the family tried to rein in the kiddie stuff. But Jones suffered other hardships. Her father was shipped to Japan and had no explanation when she was 11. That same year, an Auntie Sarah arrived at the farm to implement a rotating sharing schedule for its adolescents, where they were expected to go to bed that evening's partner for an hour. Jones said she didn't actually have any, but did feel pressured to do something sexual during these sessions. Yes, it is. And yes, it is so brutally messed up. How could they do this to people? Yeah.
At this point, these people aren't seeing these awful humans are not seeing these kids as people.
No, they're seeing them as objects. Later, her mother took her to the United States, where Jones spent some of her time with her grandmother in Atlanta and her grandfather and his wife in Indiana. While in Georgia, Jones went to real school for a few months and she loved it. I discovered I have this insatiable desire to learn, to explore, and to understand. Before that, what I learned in the family was incredibly limited, basically to the Mo letters, and I was so bored. It was just the same stuff rehashed over and over, trying to give it an exciting gloss. Still, Jones remained a true believer, and when her father showed up in Atlanta, the family headed back to Macau and later China. Jones convinced her mother to send for a CLE homeschooling course from the Mennonites, and she taught herself math, English, social studies, and science. She was 16 when she lost her virginity to a boy outside the family and was shipped to Japan for sneaking out with a few other girls in the farm to hang out with locals from the town. At 18, she went to Kazakhstan, where the elders chastised her for not sharing her love with another man in the commune. And she went to him. She kept telling herself, "This is for God." It took me a long time to realize that being coerced into having sex with somebody based on being told that God will punish you or out of fear of humiliation is just the same as graping. She bounced around Asia, submitting herself to the family's whims and unwanted sex, until at 22 in 1999, she decided to leave and pursue a college education. I didn't see a future for myself that was at all attractive, she said about her decision to leave the group. I was just really unhappy. But even at the time, I was like, maybe I will come back. Joan's parents supported her decision, and her dad got a job working in a new hotel in Macau to fund her move to the States. Eventually, she moved in with her mother's sister in California, attending community college and bartending before getting a scholarship to Georgetown in 2002, graduating from law school in 2008. She worked at a corporate attorney starting her own firm in 2018. When she first got out of the group, she said she found herself getting pressured into sex she didn't want because I didn't think I could refuse. Her first serious college boyfriend encouraged her to talk about her experiences in the cult and help her see what she experienced wasn't just uncomfortable, but was also wrong. Today, she has a loving boyfriend and she's very comfortable with her sexuality. That's definitely part of her healing. Her parents and siblings have since left the group as well. Her mom and dad, now divorced, have apologized for the trauma they put her through. Her parents never sexually abused her themselves. I did, of course, experience anger at them, George said. I was like, how could you let these things happen? She was particularly puzzled by her mother, who didn't grow up in the family and, unlike Jose, came from a world where this behavior wasn't necessarily normal. But she said part of her process of healing has included talking about these abuses with her parents. I also understand where they're coming from because I had lived it. I understand how people can be genuinely and deeply deceived. It doesn't change that the action is wrong or a violation, but it does change how she perceives it. In addition to her own firm, she coaches other women on how to reclaim their ownership of their bodies. Inspired by her TEDx talk, I Own Me, she said she wrote Sex Cult Nun to give hope to those from similar backgrounds and the tools to stand up for themselves. I hope we can make a cultural shift around some of these areas of abuse and manipulation women's rights, children's rights. I shine a lot on it from my own personal experiences in this cult, but these topics are relevant to everybody. It's not surprising so many cults are formed in California. And Mike is right. Utah is full of them. Amish? No. Amazing she turned it into something for good. Exactly. And that's the important part of this, is turning these kinds of horrific things that happen into something good. And I mean, there's many people like this. This guy right here, Michael Young. He grew up in Mexico, and the stories go on and on. And it's the same thing, that, they get brought into this kind of thing. But you were asking about River Phoenix, who grew up in the Children of God, told Details magazine in 1991 that he was 4 when he first had sex while in that group. That's Joaquin.
So that's what I'm saying, is like, if it did start so young and those kids were in there, how much did it affect River Phoenix?
But he did write a biography of Phoenix and his era, Last Night at the Viper Room, River Phoenix, and the Hollywood he left behind. He talks about it.
I knew that River Phoenix had a troubled past, but I had no idea that he had grown up in a situation like this.
Yeah.
That adds an entirely new level to it.
Yeah, it does. So I guess River was involved a little bit about it, or Joaquin was involved in it. So I mean, that's the harsh part about a lot of these groups, is they can remain, under the radar. I'll show you if this makes a little bit more sense. So this is the Online Archive of California, Family International Records, no online items. You have to contact San Diego State University Special Collections and University Archives. Family International Records document more than 6 decades of church and personal activity, include newspaper clippings, photos, audio, video recordings, personal papers, organizational documents, federal agency records, and related anti-cult scholarly documents. During this time, the family faced many controversies based on their sexual practices and accuses of abuse. The majority of this collection features witnessing activities through photographs, church publications, such as audio, visual. Yeah, absolutely, Michael Malloy. It's not that bad. How do you know? I mean,
Yeah, the thing with Scientology is that they are so kept under wraps. I mean, even the thing that came out about Danny Masterson. So I don't believe that it's not that bad. We just haven't heard all of the gory details about it yet.
Yeah, if you want to get an idea, here's their collection details. This is all of the information that goes on. It's got historic publications and photos from 1940 to 1988, photographs from 69 to 81, news articles. It's got all of it, everything. Cruels and Editions 2018, People's Temple Collection. I mean, it just goes on and on. The musical group, the movement, the organization. And then, of course, the related materials that it's got. publications. And whenever they start talking about box 8, folder 6, box 8, folder 7, box 8, folder 8, folder 9, academic publications, box 9, and the list goes on and on and on. The amount that they have on this particular group is unbelievable. So you ready to continue on? Questions?
No, I have 0 questions.
This is where we move on to let me see if I've got it right. This particular one, I just want to make sure that I've got this stuff in order, because it does get, doing this live is a little bit different than being able to cut and edit it. So
Right.
Okay, this particular article was written in 1993. But that's not the one I want to get into. We can go on to this one here. Okay. Ricky Rodriguez, born David Moses Zerby. Okay. Now, this is a little bit of something that I'll share this instead here. So, prophecy for Davido. This is about David Rodriguez. Chapter 11 of It's a Boy, the story of little David continued. Copyrighted 1977 by the Children of God. It was early morning, March 2nd, shortly after midnight news, and Monty and I were sitting beside Davido's bed while Monty was playing the guitar, singing him to sleep after we'd been playing with him and telling him Bible stories all evening, when Daddy came in to kiss him goodnight, pray for him, and suddenly began to weep and prophesy. So this particular bit goes through all of the prophecies of David Rodriguez. And it goes all the way down to 93. And all my girls and all my loves and all my women and all my wives and all my loves and all my family, in Jesus' name. Amen. This is a long read. I'm not going to read all of this tonight. Clipper time. Let the chase begin. You take good care, brother. It's good seeing you. So, Ricky Rodriguez. He murdered one of his childhood sex abusers, Angela Smith, and then died by self-deletion. Sorry, didn't mean to keep that up there so long. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. During his childhood, he and his adoptive parents, they weren't, he wasn't born into them. He was adopted. Both of whom were leaders of the family, traveled across the world to convert followers. Burr believed Rodriguez was called upon to become a prophet during the biblical end time. From a young age, he was brought up in a heavily promiscuous environment, was abused by numerous people, including nannies, as described in the family published document called the Davido Book. Despite leaving the family and finding marriage, Rodriguez struggled to adjust life outside the cult, sought revenge. When he left his wife in Tacoma, Washington, and traveled across the U.S. in an attempt to find Zerby, after leaving his former nanny Angela M. Smith was in Tucson, Arizona. He stayed with people he knew until he settled in an apartment. And on January 7th, 2005, he recorded a video saying he needed to take retribution for abuse in the family, including his own. The next day, he invited Smith to his home for dinner, where he stabbed her to death before driving to Blythe, California, and self-deleting.
Wow.
And I have that video. That's where I'm not going to do it right now, but that's where we'll go to Rumble, because it's that's where it gets a little dark, and
Okay.
I can't keep that stuff up on the YouTubes. So it gives a little bit about the history of him. Zerby had flirty fished and practiced in which female cult members would have sex with men, blah blah blah. While growing up in the Children of God, Rodriguez was frequently exposed to adults engaging in sexual intercourse at Berg's home as part of group's member sexual sharing. When he was 10 months old, Zerby and Berg asked Sarah, one of Rodriguez's nannies, to start creating a document called the David Ito book, also referred as the story of David Ito, which is this right here. I thought I had brought this over. Share this tab instead. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Ah.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know if the words on the screen were going to be okay to be shown.
Oh no, they're fine.
Okay.
So it's a 762 page document, including photos of Rodriguez with naked teenage girls and being present during the group's orgies. One of his nannies, Angela Smith, who also played Zerby's personal secretary, was included in the photos in which she was undoing his pants. The picture is captioned "Undressing for Sue." The material also contained captions and text written by Berg commenting on the situation in a sexual manner. Berg later ordered David, we'll just say David, and similar documents that had been created to be purged or references to sex to be removed. The former members were able to establish its existence by distributing material via email. In 1986, Children of God, which is now called The Family, banned sex between minors and adults along with flirty fishing. Berg died in 1994, and Zerby, alongside her then husband Peter Amsterdam, took full leadership of the cult. A British court headed by Lord Justice Ward issued a verdict during an investigation related to the 1995 trial, stating that the book was an example of Berg's promotion of pedophilia within the group, and that the leadership considered it as a guidebook for adult-child relationships. Amsterdam was ordered by Ward to distance the family, and Berg's writing on his child upbringing. Hey, Triggered of Oz. Good to see you. Dang, this is heavy. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, it's heavy. At 21 years old, he moved to a family-owned home in Budapest, where he met his girlfriend, Alexia Moonmel. I don't know anything about that. Talks about his resentment, searching for Zerby, and the investigation and memorial. This is where people started coming out a little bit more about all of this. While Rodriguez was unjustifiable in the murder, one can understand his frustration and rage because he and others from that generation had never seen justice from all the abuse they suffered. A cult researcher who had interviewed numerous former members of the family noted that Rodriguez reflected the many suicides of those who suffered tremendous amount of pain from being in one of the most horrifically abusive and destructive cults in American history. Don Lattin, a journalist and author who spent 2 years studying Rodriguez's motives for the murder, published a book called Jesus Freaks. He believed Rodriguez was a time bomb waiting to go off because he exhibited aggressive tendencies and expressed guilt for other victims' abuse. According to Lattin, abuse was not accounted for because there's a statute of limitations. A lot of this happened a long time ago, outside of the U.S., by people who kept constantly changing their names. So even the victims, the kids themselves, often don't know who it was that abused them.
Yeah.
What kind of rabbit are you? That is the Iron Rabbit. You don't mess with the Iron Rabbit.
But for Halloween, she's a rabbit dressed up as a kitty cat.
course.
No, I was gonna say, like, I thought about the statute of limitations on this before it had been mentioned, just because I was trying to think of
River and
how
Joaquin.
well, no,
Oh.
how Ricky or David could get some sort of justice for himself, and there really isn't a way. And I don't agree with the laws in California now that say that there is no statute of limitations or it can be expanded because of this, and this. Um, it's unfortunate, but I don't agree with them. But yeah, it's sad that he thought he had to go to this extreme in order to seek justice.
Right. And not that it's justifiable, but it becomes understandable of
Mm.
why someone becomes a ticking time bomb over this kind of thing, because they're not seeing any justice being brought forward, because these people were constantly changing their names and coming and going and not feeling any remorse that he could see from any of the actions that they had performed upon other people. Um, Former members of the family made similar allegations of this abuse. Julia Bering, the co-author of the book Not Without My Sister, which details her family's experiences within the cult, mentioned that most of the children she and people like Rodriguez grew up with in the cult were sexually abused. She emphasized with the rage he felt, especially when he had no closure and no restitution for it. Numerous members of the website Moving On expressed their concerns about the incident, but this is, where it talks about the Ricky Rodriguez Memorial Site, which was managed by the family, which just makes it even sicker, because
Did the family have anything to say about what happened, or did they
right
kind of just
here,
keep quiet? Okay.
right here. So, in an internal memo, Zerby told followers, and this is Mother Maria or whatever, the one that
Right.
was left after Berg. Zerby told followers of the family that reporters were trying to make Ricky look like a hero and a role model rather than a perpetuator of a crime. In another memo, which was sent to an estimated 12,000 followers, Amsterdam urged followers to disregard media reports and internet news about the murder-suicide, and said Rodriguez was overcome by the enemy and forces of darkness, and that Zerby is the sweetest, most loving person I know. He also said people were exploiting this tragedy to hurt him, Zerby, and the family in an effort to tear down our work for the Lord. Techie stated in a letter she became deeply disturbed after learning about Rodriguez's death, and that he was not an angry person when she knew him. The Ricky Rodriguez Memorial Site, or rickyrodriguez.com, which was managed by the family, included never before published photos of Zerby and messages from Jesus. The site was not renewed and does not exist anymore. Claire Borowick, the spokesperson for the family, said both deaths were tragic, but the media reports portrayed Smith as an offender and Rodriguez as a victim. She said Smith was never Rodriguez's nanny, but only visited him, and that the family gave him ample financial and emotional support. When he wanted to become independent, Barwick also compared Rodriguez's upbringing to one in a nudist colony, and cited scholars who argue sexual practices similar to those of the family do not harm children. In regards to the DeVito prophecy, Borowick said the family knew that DeVito wasn't fulfilling that prophecy because prophecies of the group were always dependent on man's choices. Borowick also said former members whom she called apostates failed to move Rodriguez in positive directions and wanted to do damage to our movement. She criticized Latin's book for inaccuracies, misconceptions, or erroneous conclusions, and sketchy research. That's how the family handled it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
No, I'm confused. they put up a memorial site.
Mm-hmm. Praising him.
Right. But
and
then
blaming her, Smith, for causing all of this, and that the media was false reporting.
But Smith was part of the cult and was following her orders, I'm assuming.
And her own sexual desires, doing whatever she wanted to. Whatever she felt would please her. Amazing she became a nurse after this.
Wait, who did?
The one that he shot. Angela Smith.
I thought she died.
Yeah, she died whenever he deleted her.
Oh, she left the cult, became a nurse, and then died. I understand.
Yes.
Sorry. I was confused on the timeline.
Yeah. Sorry. It's pretty crazy. And she was very involved. Very involved in the group.
Then she goes.
She changed her name after she left. Susan Joy Cotton
So
was her name.
they're also saying that she wasn't ever Rodriguez's nanny.
No. She said she was never his nanny, that she just looked out for him for some period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there are like pictures that prove otherwise, that she was much more involved.
Right. And yes, the subjects are for mature when it's disturbed on Mondays. Always. Always for mature. I would, I would highly recommend that, if you're triggered by stuff, don't follow us over to Rumble, because it's going to be pretty triggering. And I know that I'll play a little bit of music, and then I'll kick this thing over, and it will be Rumble exclusive. So if you want to see more of it, and hear what Ricky had to say before going and committing these crimes, you're welcome to join us over there. But this time, seeing that we're going to be talking smexy talk over there, it's going to get really smexy. I'll give you a little smexy outro for just this. Is going to be just for the Rumble side of it, or the YouTube side of it. How's that? Something really I'm kidding. I couldn't help it. I had to do it.
I would push the kid in too.
I didn't think you guys would mind that one too much. So I'm just going to give you a short bit of an outro here on the been lurking and doing house chores, but definitely falling over to Rumble. Yes, we are going over to Rumble, and just a short bit, and I'll give you not the standard outro. I'll give you a different outro, but I'll do the regular outro whenever we're over on Rumble. So I'll see you guys there. And the link is up in the top. Just click on that link. It's pinned in the top. That's where the Rumble page is at. I hope it's working. God, I hope it's working. If it doesn't, then my apologies, I guess. So here we go.
In the bathroom taking a shave, and I heard a screeching, between a screech and a whistle.